Tonight on our program, we have the president of Burlington Organized Minor Baseball Association, Paulo Mori. Paulo's been president since 2013 of the association. Prior to that, he won Volunteer of the Year. He was a former player. He played for the Windsor Lancers Baseball Club many years ago. He's been involved on a number of different levels. If you're around the parks in Burlington over the summer or in the fall, you'll certainly see Paulo around. So he's been certainly a huge booster for the baseball community here in Burlington, and I'm really proud to be able to say that I've known Paulo and been able to work with him.
And it's really nice that after the game tonight, the Blue Jays game, to have Paulo on. Absolutely. But I also want to give our audience a chance to ask a question or comment on what we've got to say tonight. And for our audience, you can go to #TheIssue on Twitter. Tell us your comments or questions, or go to Facebook, The Issue, and let us know what you think. And we're also going to open the phone lines at 905-333-6088, and that'll be at the bottom of the screen. So if you've got a comment or question, you can call in as well. And if you're tweeting or on Facebook, we'll keep it anonymous if you wish. And on the phone, we'll keep it anonymous also. So that gives everybody a fair chance to have their input. So, Corey, why did you want Paulo on tonight?
Well, I think that, you know, with the Blue Jays, with the success that they've had over the last 2 seasons, we've seen a lot of enthusiasm across Canada, including here in Burlington, for the Blue Jays, for baseball. You know, if you go on the GO train on any given weekend when the Blue Jays are in town, you can certainly feel the momentum in the air. You know, with a big win today and everybody, you know, cheering and celebrating that, I thought that this would be an ideal time to have Paulo on the program, being, you know, given the contributions that he's made to baseball and his connections within the baseball community.
Well, that's great. And you've been president for how long?
I've been president for 4 years.
For 4 years.
I was treasurer before that, and actually led the House League divisions for about 2 years before that.
Oh, okay.
And been a coach since 2005.
So you've had a long period of time with baseball.
I've started baseball. My baseball life started when I was 6 years old in Hamilton, and took some time off during university, and then started baseball again in university, and took some time off to have a family and to work, and got into it.
You gotta pay those bills.
You certainly do. And I got back into it with my children. My 2 oldest sons got into baseball. I got back into it. As a coach.
Now, Corey, you're not only a teacher with the Grand Erie School Board and second vice president of the Teachers Association, you're a baseball coach and, shall I say, fanatic.
Absolutely. I mean, baseball has been in my blood my entire life. I mean, it was the sport that I played, you know, since I was that tall.
Yeah.
It was, you know, when my playing days ended when I was about 18 years old, I played rep baseball my whole life, but at 5'0", I knew that there weren't a lot of scholarship opportunities coming my way, and so I thought at that time that my way of staying connected to the game was to get into coaching, and so many coaches had given so much of their time volunteering. When I played, I thought that it'd be only fair that when my playing days were done at a competitive level, that I could offer some of what I had learned back to some of the new players, the players coming up today.
That's really nice to hear. And do you get a lot of that from former players coming back? Yeah,
we do. We see a lot of parents coming back. We have a lot of people in our organization who actually ran or grew up in the Bomb Association, now have children still in Burlington, that want to give back. And like myself, they want to grow the sport. I strongly believe, and many in the organization believe, that sports, baseball, very much guide you towards life. It tells you how to face adversity or failure. Baseball is a game of failure. We all know that. We can see that with the Jays the last couple of days, our games. But it also tells you how to win. It tells you how to be part of a team, and it can help you to be a leader of a group. Those are great attributes for our youth to be growing up with. We have this past year at our banquet, we created an award called Mentorship Award. And we gave it to a team that is 16, 17-year-olds that actually took time out of their schedules to teach baseball to kids who were 6 years old. So they gave up their time, they went to their practices and games, and they taught. They were really mentors to those children. We're starting to see it at the older age groups, but we definitely see it with a lot of our parents too.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Now, when we started this program tonight, we talked about all that enthusiasm that's out there. How is that translated into, whether it's enrollment or the program in Burlington? What is the state of baseball in Burlington right now?
I'm reminded by our equipment manager, who's been around since probably Bombo was started in 1957, that 92 and 93 were the largest years Burlington's ever had for its baseball. 3,000 players, and that was the same time when the Jays won the World Series back-to-back. Enrollment dwindled as we saw baseball dwindling a little bit, but over the last few years we've seen double-digit growth, 10, 12%. Last year we call it the Blue Jays bump, 1.0 after this year. Our enrollment went up 40% in House League. 600 of 600 players or athletes were new to either Bomba or were new to baseball in general. That is a tremendous growth aspect for any organization. Now, it's not just Burlington.
How do you assimilate a 40% increase into the parks that exist today?
That was the challenge. Our challenge are ultimately resources in the sense of parks and resources for volunteers. So we need volunteer coaches, we need volunteers on the board that help organize and plan the schedule. We felt it coming. With the Blue Jays, after their trade acquisitions in 2015, we saw the run. We received phone calls, emails. When was registration opening up? As they got further into the playoffs and with the bat flip games, registration people started to call. And we planned, we organized towards that. We communicated with our sports development officers in the city that be prepared for at least a 30 to 40% jump. So we plan our parks for our upcoming season now. So we were picking up parks that we could. I think I did a study.
Do you have to go outside of the city, or it hasn't come to that point?
It hasn't come to that. We prefer not to. Our base is and our focus is Burlington. We would rather play in Burlington and use those parks. We are all taxpayers of the city. And we pay for that. We also don't want our parents to have to, on a weeknight, our House League program plays 2 nights a week. We don't want them to drive to Georgetown or Waterdown or even Hamilton or Oakville. We want them to be able to play in the city that they help support and their children go to school with their friends. So your question's bang on. How do you assimilate that? It wasn't easy. We have dedicated volunteers that give up a lot of their time for free and help plan this. And it's, being on a board of any youth organization is a 12-month job, I would say.
Absolutely. And, when we think about baseball in Burlington or anywhere else for that matter, so many of the headlines and so much of the attention is grabbed by our rep teams and our elite programs. But we know that Burlington baseball and baseball in general is so much more than that. So how does it compare your different programs that exist, or what programs are out there for youth, of different ability levels and different interests and all that kind of thing? And how does that compare to your registration numbers? And
our grassroots level, our recreational baseball, also called House League, that's where we saw our biggest increase. Our rep or travel programs did increase, but our focus really needed to be at that grassroots level. We've pushed an agenda or a compass of training, development of all our players, all our coaches, even our younger officials, our umpires. One of the things towards that bump of the Blue Jays was our training and development programs increased by 116%. We created fall programs to teach kids baseball. We created a small ballers program through our training staff that actually focused on 4, 5, 6-year-olds to work or to learn baseball or the fundamentals of baseball before they got onto the field. Our grassroots program is strictly about fun, learning, development. And if you want to do more or you want to advance more, that is a great way of starting out. Every kid, Russell Martin, started in a house league baseball program, and that's how we learned. And that's our main focus, is have them grow through development. The winning aspect of it in house league, yeah, it's great. It's great to get a medal at the end of the year, but really, if you come off loving the game and you've come off learning something about that game in that season, for us, that's a success.
Well, I'd like to ask you, that philosophy is fine, but when you're a parent paying what they're paying for the elite baseball, you definitely want more.
Correct.
And how much more are you able to give those parents who see their kids moving on in terms of scholarships down in the U.S.? I mean, it's a big dollar amount, and it's also a big dollar amount that they're investing in travel time and so on. So what is the relationship that you've got with people paying the bills, the parents?
The relationship I have is I'm very approachable. We go to a lot of parent meetings. We go to a lot of parents. There's no question that's off base. You're right. Once you reach that level, that age where baseball becomes more of, I want to see where I can get, or how far this can get me. And a lot of them, it is U.S. scholarships. We offer programs. Our travel teams, our rep teams, they start winter development or winter practices in January, and they go for 4 hours to 6 hours a week.
And what age groups?
That starts at 8 years old.
So,
and it goes all the way to 18.
So development of someone who may want to get an education through baseball starts pretty darn early.
It does. It does. When you're looking at baseball players that go on to U.S. scholarships or even MLB draft out of high school, they started at a very young age learning fundamentals and perfecting their trade. Our development program, through our winter development program, through our winter development training, we've brought in ex-college Division I players, ex-pro players, a lot of ex-pro players actually, that will teach you that fundamental. And we focus for the first 2 months on conditioning and fundamental baseball. Whether it be hitting, whether it be infielding, whether it be pitching, we're strong in the fundamental aspect of and teaching that. The rest of it comes from our coaches and learning experiences towards when you're on the field. A large part of baseball, as with many sports, baseball probably more, is that baseball IQ, is that intelligence factor that you know when to run, when not to run,
that
how to run.
Anticipation.
Yeah. What to do
How
when.
do you teach that? Corey, how do you teach that? It just seems to be inbred with so many young people.
Absolutely. Having been around the game many years, I remember as a kid when we played. Yes, we had our organized rep leagues that we played in, our travel baseball, but we played on our own time. We got together as youth in the community. You would get together with your friends, your classmates. We organized our own little leagues, right? Because we wanted to play more. So all of those pieces about that baseball IQ, I think just were ingrained because we just played so much. We weren't inside a lot. I think there was the generation we tended to be outside doing things, and for me and for a lot of my friends, baseball was that thing. We lived it, and we went home and we didn't play. At least in my case, I didn't play a lot of video games. I turned on the TV, I watched the Blue Jays, and I remember watching the World Series in '92 and watching in '93, and baseball I tend to think is a thinking person's game, and so you're always trying to think what the pitcher is going to do or what the manager is going to do in a certain situation, and I don't know if we've lost some of that or not, but I know in my generation I think that contributed to what I thought was a greater baseball IQ.
And do you think, Paulo, that today we've got a greater baseball intelligence, or less intelligence in terms of baseball?
It's difficult to say. I think that I also come from a generation where you were playing outside, and there weren't video games, and we only saw the Blue Jays occasionally and the Montreal Expos occasionally. So there wasn't a lot of baseball to be seen. But what we try to do now is we have classroom sessions, and at a very young age we bring in classroom sessions to try to teach those other aspects of fundamental baseball. I remember when I was a coach, I used to show YouTube videos about how a certain player saw a footwork of an outfielder and knew that he wouldn't be able to throw strong so he could run to second. And we just drilled those type of things into them and taught them that, the major league players do things right for a reason, and when they capitalize on those mistakes. Corey is a great coach who used to teach downward angle. And you saw with the Cleveland Indians this last few days, is when you see that ball on a downward angle and you're for a runner at first base, chances are you're going to the ball's going to hit the ground, you take your shot at running. And that's good fundamental knowledge of baseball, is trying to teach that, and you can only really teach that on the field or through videos or through classrooms now. But baseball IQ is being put in situations.
There's a question, Corey, that I've got, and it has to do with the increase in sign-ups for Bomba. When we talked earlier about the fields and so on, is there competition against other soccer for those resources from the city? And what would you say to Rick Goldring, Mayor Rick Goldring, if he was right here, to help out baseball in this town?
I've had the opportunity to speak to Mayor Goldring about the conditions of baseball, and the city is doing a great job now. There still are improvements to our diamonds. I think our largest things are when you see other cities and the amenities that they have. We're probably lacking in that. We're probably behind the mark by about 5 or 6 years. Simple things about conditions of fields, how the dugouts or the benches look. The city is spending a lot of money these days to retrofit or revitalize a lot of the diamonds. A lot of that comes from increases in registration. The last 4 years as president, I ensured that they knew how much registration was increasing, how I would throw pictures down of other parks. I'm always snapping pictures when we're around of other diamonds and what would look nice. But if I was to speak directly to the mayor, it would be, let's focus in on our not just our premier parks that we host tournaments at, or our rep teams are, but also our grassroots or house league parks. That's where a majority of our people are, and that's where the enjoyment is. There's nothing better than, Corey and I were in Washington and at the Pan Am parks in Ajax, that you walk in and there's the grass is cut, it's green, it's lush, the diamonds are well groomed, and you always see that. There's nothing more a player likes to have those amenities. It makes them feel special. It makes them feel like a big league ball player when they're only 8 years old. So those are the things that I would say is if you build it, they will come.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I knew somebody had to say that tonight.
When we took our players onto that field in Ajax that they played the Pan Am games, you can just see them light up. And these are a bit older players, but this is a kid's game, and just like, wow, I get to play on this field, right? Win or lose, have a good game, have a bad game, I'm here, right? And that's something to see.
Okay, and I do have to ask you in just about 30 seconds.
Sure.
What is going to happen at the Blue Jays level with them? Are they going to win it?
I strongly feel that they're going to be the next team to come back from a 3-0 deficit since the Boston Red Sox in 2004. And like the Red Sox, I strongly feel that they will have a great shot at winning the World Series if they do that.
And Corey, what are your
I'm
predictions?
certainly hopeful.
You sound now like a politician rather than a co-host or a baseball player. I appreciate you coming in and telling us a little bit more about minor league baseball in Burlington, and it goes for, I think the philosophy is there, and best of luck with Mayor Goldring and getting those those facilities upgraded.
Thanks for letting me speak about baseball in Burlington.
Okay, terrific. Corey, I enjoyed that talking to Paulo. To our audience, we'd like to remind you that if you do have comments or questions about this this part of the program or the next part of the program, where we're going to have John Tate from the hockey, so hockey's represented here on the show. You can do it on Facebook, The Issue, or on Twitter, #TheIssue, or at the phone number at the bottom of the screen. So stay with us. We'll be right back with John Tate here on Cogeco TV.